Hey everybody, I am doing a video pre-recorded as opposed to doing a blog this week because sometimes I just don't want to write, I'd rather talk. And so I'm testing out my webcam situation to see if this is a better way to express myself. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about was my experience last week at the Artist Summit with the Powder Group. For those of you who are not familiar with the Artist Summit, Michael DeVellis and James Vincent created the Artist Summit within the Powder Group many years ago, but they changed the format in 2013 to bring sort of a seminar / conference to Provincetown in Cape Cod, Massachusetts, which is a very magical and beautiful place. And their idea was to bring in working artists in the industry, not even just artists, hairstylists, people who do interesting things artistically that connect somehow to us in a visceral, industry-based way, but in a way that artists are expressing themselves and had a journey. And instead of coming to something like a trade show where they share makeup tips or business tips, this is more along the lines of sharing struggles and challenges and successes and ongoing journeys. And I think that when they first did it in 2013, it was an amazing experience. There were so many amazing presenters, to the tune that I was really inspired and put out into the universe that I would get to present somehow, some way. And luckily enough, Michael and James asked me to present last Artist Summit in 2015, where I presented my talk on I Am Influenced, which had to do with leadership in our industry. And I got to share my struggles and challenges in becoming an artist, but also becoming a mentor and learning how to take my art and make a difference in the world and create community around that. So the reason why they do it in Provincetown is because it is not the city, it's not your hometown, it's a place away from home that has very interesting attributes as far as being an artist community, being a very inspiring environmental place with light and beaches and dunes and little art town. And every time I've gone there since 2011 when I did Evolution, I have always gone there and gotten very vulnerable and very open with my heart and come back super inspired. And I want to share why and some of the lessons that I took away from this 2017 Artist Summit and some of the presenters that talked. So first of all, one of the things that I wanted to share was we are often so concentrated on figuring out what's our next step. Often we find ourselves in a metaphorical hamster wheel where we're just going and going, and we're pushing ourselves to find what is the next thing that we need to do to become the person that we envision ourselves to be. And a lot of the times, because of the same environment that we have around us, our own house, our own family, our own New York City is where I am, and it's a lot of it's very intense, it's very in my face, and it's hard to see yourself outside of that space. So that's one of the reasons that Michael and James bring us to Provincetown, because it is a place that helps you be present. It helps you focus. It's also, the elements are so inspiring and almost surreal to the point where you can't help but dream and open up and be vulnerable. And one of the things Michael closed the summit saying, which I'm starting with, is that you do need to find that place that allows you to focus, that allows you to step outside of yourself And I believe Provincetown has been that for me. Although I will not say that the only time I can focus is I have to take a 5-hour car trip or a 9-hour train to ferry trip to Provincetown in order for me to breathe in my brain space. But there is something to acknowledge and appreciate about being able to find a place that allows you to step out of your everyday schedule, your everyday tasks, so that you can see and focus the things that maybe you're not completely able to because you're inundated with things to do and money to make and families to take care of. So that's my first lesson that I wanted to share, was that make sure that if you haven't and you don't have a space for that, that you do take the time to find that, whether that's going to a waterfront near you, going to a park, maybe taking a moment and taking a weekend away to drive into the mountains, the beach, whatever that is for you, make the time for that, because changing environment is really important sometimes, and I feel like it opens up possibilities that you wouldn't have normally realized were there. And having said that, while I was in Provincetown, every time I go to Provincetown, whether it's the Artist Summit or the Creative Exploration Conference, or it was Evolution, or even James and Jeremy's wedding, I feel like every time I go there, there's a new aha moment that I have. And some of the ones that I had this year, I could go millions of aha moments over the years, but this year, I definitely am always inspired by the presenters that talk. They're usually people who have been in an industry, who are either my friends, because a lot of my friends actually presented this time, which was really, really a beautiful experience to celebrate them and see what they had to say about their journey. Things that, even though I've known them for upwards of 15 years, I learned new things hearing them speak on stage. So that's one thing, is, don't assume that you know everyone's journey. Don't assume that in looking at someone you are inspired by, that they have it all figured out and that their journey has been a cakewalk, and that, you're looking up to someone who is so different from you or so outside of you that you can't relate to them. Just know that mostly everybody has had their own particular challenges, and I'm not going to give too much away, but my friend, two of my really close friends, Orlando Santiago, who I started my makeup journey with at MAC in 2001, shared a lot about his journey and what it takes for a straight man in our industry who has children and is continuing to find new ventures and not see them fold, but transform into what really is important and what really is calling that person and what's wanted and needed. And I related to that because my recent journey with the body of art, the body of artists, myself as an artist, myself as a mentor, myself as now I'm beginning, actually, this is another thing I'm going to share, as someone who wants to work in healing. There is always a next venture. There is always a next possibility there for you. And sometimes that means letting go of the things you thought were what you're supposed to be doing. And sometimes when you don't realize that on your own, the universe has a very interesting way of presenting challenges or removing things from your line of sight so that you can see clearly. I think in Orlando's journey, he ran a school in Florida for a very long time and had some amazing experiences and lessons from that. And now he shared about, his journey from going through that process and having his discoveries with that and working with partners and all that stuff, to moving back to, not only moving back to New York, but starting his position at Guerlain, and also falling in love with his childhood sweetheart and getting married. And being with his sons on another level. So I think that it was a beautiful story for me to see, because we all, even though we think we're on different journeys, sometimes we have this same underlying connection, that even though the details look different, we're all traveling in the same space. And I myself have gone through a space of where being a crazy educator and traveling the world and being an insane makeup artist who's got her feet in everything does not necessarily, it's not necessarily my biggest possibility. And so over the past year, as personal things have happened to me, I know that I'm also on a new journey and discovering spaces of growth. And it's a little scary at times because it's new territory, and exploring that feels vulnerable, and it feels somewhat, I hate to say it, embarrassing, only because you get known as someone in your industry for so long, and then when you shift gears, you're wondering what everyone's going to think about you. But at the same time, if I connect with myself and I connect with those that are closest to me, I'm reassured that there is no way that, I'm not on the right path. And so I want to thank Orlando for sharing that. Also, my friend Yvonne, you guys know my sister, though she definitely had an amazing presentation, which was the only makeup that was shown during the summit on stage, where she talked about her process in creatively expressing herself and, doing that. I got to also witness a beautiful journey that she had outside of her presentation. And I can't give away too many details because it's not my business to tell, but there was definitely almost a similar story to Orlando, and where there's a journey you go on where things look a certain way and you get so attached to it looking this way and wanting it to be this way, and when it gets taken away from you in one way or another because it's not working anymore or whatnot, you go through this grief period where you're trying to hold on to what it was, and the universe kind of forces you to have that grief process, go through that almost death of losing something that you thought should be the way it is, and then learning for yourself and having that space to learn for yourself who you are. Through Yvonne and through my my coworkers, my employees, Tara and Caitlin, and any amazing friend who actually has the heart and the caring to step into my life and actually give me feedback on the things that I don't necessarily am always aware of. And I want to say that I appreciate those people, because it's not always easy to tell someone who you think sometimes has all their shit together that there is maybe something that they can work on. Maybe there is something they're missing. Maybe that there is something bigger that they are not allowing themselves to admit, and taking that opportunity to share with them from a place of love that maybe they need to change some things and grow. And I say this very vaguely, and I apologize, but I do know that in my journey, especially with my sister Yvonne, we love each other so much and have been through so much heartache with each other that but we're also very spiritually connected, in the sense that we know that all of our journey is leading towards our most amazing potential. And Yvonne has gone through her journey and has found some amazing new answers to prayers and long lost loves in Provincetown, which I'm happy to say that I asked her to come, and she came, and she got to present and also discover some amazing things on her own, but also created a space for us as friends to give each other support and feedback on who we are as people, as leaders, and as artists. and that we'll always be there for each other. And so there's those two lessons. One, create a space for yourself. Two, be open to the fact that when things move and shift in your life in a way that is so overwhelming and too much, that you know that it's leading you to a space of growth. And then I think the third lesson that I took away, there was this one kind of surprise presenter who I didn't know before, and was very surprised in the sense that she's not a makeup artist, and her name is Sarah Regano, and she is a shamanic healer in a way, but she doesn't even actually like to be called a healer because she doesn't claim to heal anybody, but she holds the space and vibrationally helps people move into a place of healing. And I realized in my journey as a mentor, educator, and artist that part of what I do and why I'm so attracted to healing arts, which is about energy, it's about nature, it's about connecting to your soul on a spiritual level, it's about really taking ownership and accountability for how I show up in the world. One of my healing gifts is communication. I saw that with my time with Yvonne. I've seen that with my relationships with my employees, and I've also seen that in my my ability to connect with the LPs is not about them just having an awesome development in their artistry and their business, but the foundation of that is communication. And even in our art meetup yesterday, the team was going through some struggles, and I'm able to see what words and what perceptions and what interpretations and assumptions are being present, and almost see the end vision of how beautiful the connection between two bodies can be, and shine a light on where communication is getting misread, where people need to be heard. And so I have decided that part of my journey into this new space is going to be about integrating the healing arts and spiritualness of that gift into my art, into my mentorship, and really just own it, because I've never considered myself to be a healer, just like Sarah, who very much talked about vibrational shifts and connecting to yourself in a way that I'm so attracted to this. I go to sweat lodges. I do animal medicine card readings, and I kind of look at it as a little bit of, not a hobby, it's my spiritual practice, but why not integrate that into my art and into the way that I mentor and teach. So I'm exploring that. Thankfully, Sarah Regano lives in our tri-state area, so hoping to create a connection with her and start a community here that integrates that, or get more involved in other communities that already exist. So in that lesson, I share with you because it may not be a spiritual calling for you, but there might be something in your life that you're drawn to and you're really attracted to and you feel really powerfully re-energized by, that you may think is separate from your business. But in actuality, it could be integrated into your business and make your business deeper and more wholesome. More wholesome doesn't make any sense because it's either wholesome or it's not, but full and fulfilling. So I'm excited to share what's next on my journey with this, and I don't know what I'm going to call it, this gift of communication and connection that I have within not only our industry but just with people, but it is going to be a part of the next version for sure of our leadership program, which is developing into this really amazing idea that is going to go way beyond what it's ever gone before. So, closing, I just wanted to say, if you are getting stuck, if you are having moments of frustration where you can't see the forest through the trees, my invitation to you is to first stop, take a breath, look around, and see where can you create space in your life to have a moment to take yourself out of your everyday life so that you can have space to focus. Whether that's a weekend away or a day away, and allow yourself to completely cut out any social media, any movies, any distractions, because distractions are huge and we all have them nowadays. So give yourself that time. Bring some music, bring a journal, do some writing, sitting, thinking, and allow that open space to happen so the new ideas and the universe or whatever you believe in has room to come in and start surfacing the things that may already be brewing. Secondly, just know that if you are in a space of where everything seems to be changing faster than you'd like and you're having a hard time trying to hold on to what used to be because that's what you know, consider the practice of letting go gradually, because you may be making room for new things to come in. Even if it's unknown or unfamiliar, just know that that's okay. And you have no idea what beautiful things might come in. And trust that when your friends and people who care about you enough that want to give you feedback and help you grow, that it's not a personal attack. It's not meaning to hurt you or harm you. You know the difference between people who say shit and it doesn't mean anything. But the people who really matter to you are the ones when they say something to you, it really hits a chord. And allow that chord to be hit and allow it to be absorbed. And also just notice on a deeper level, what are things that interest you? Not interest you as a hobby, as like, oh, this is really cool, but things that really impact you and consistently start to show up in your life over and over and over again. And if it's not already integrated in your life in a way that you want to make an impact with others, maybe consider what could that look like if I did integrate that into my everyday life. And beyond that, if you don't ever have never been to P-Town, please do yourself a favor, take a trip. The most beautiful time is now. There's also June and July and August gets kind of crazy, but the most beautiful sunsets and sunrises, which I've included some pictures of in this post. So I hope you're all well, and I hope you are taking care of yourself on a mental, physical, and spiritual level. And if you're not, why not? Why not? Have an amazing day, and make sure you know that you come first before everything else comes first. And that's it. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye.